welcome to Verbal to Visual Video. I'm your host, Doug Neill, and today I want to share with you a goal-oriented learning framework. I've been thinking about the learning experience quite a bit lately because I'm in the process of developing a course, and I wanted to make sure that I'm developing this course with a solid educational foundation. I'll talk more about that course at the end of this video, but while I'm describing this learning framework, think about how you might be able to apply it to a particular skill or set of skills that you are trying to develop right now. This particular project here, Verbal to Visual, focuses on the development of note-taking skills, but I think this learning framework can be applied in a wide variety of settings. So what I'm going to do is first describe this learning framework in somewhat of an abstract sense, and then I'm going to get down into the details of how I'm applying it as I think about the development of visual note-taking skills. Since this learning framework is goal-oriented, the first step is to have a goal, which is the reason why you want to learn whatever it is that you're learning. In other words, what is the thing that you will be able to achieve after developing this new skill? That's what a goal is. In order to achieve that goal, you're going to need to develop some skills. That's the second part of this framework. A set of skills that, when combined, will allow you to achieve your goal. I think it's useful to break things down into individual skills because that adds a bit of specificity, a bit of focus to this process. Your goal could be one big statement, but when you take the time to look at the individual skills that you need in order to achieve that goal, often you might find places where there are gaps in your current abilities. And the more specific you get with these individual skills, the better. Because when it comes to learning something new, it's much easier to focus on small chunks at a time rather than shooting for this big, new, lofty goal all at once. So once you're aware of the skills that you need to work toward your goal, then you can move into a practice phase. And it's in this stage when you start to develop those skills that need developing, either individually, one at a time, or sometimes combining multiple skills at once. This practice stage is important because it gives you an opportunity to develop your skills in a low-pressure environment. If you screw up on something you're working on, it doesn't matter because it's a practice session. You're only doing this for yourself. You're not on the line for your performance in any way. And what that does is it takes away some of the emotional anxiety around learning something new and developing a new skill. It's easy for us to want to be good at something the first time we do it. And unless we give ourselves the space to practice a thing without anyone else looking, that emotional barrier is going to get in the way. And once you've spent some time practicing your skills, then you can move to the stage where you actually apply your skills toward your goal. You bring together those skills that you've been working on and apply them for real, not in a practice situation anymore, but actually in a way that helps you move closer to your goal. When you apply your skills, you might find that things go really well, that you've developed your skills as far as they need to go to be able to actually make concrete progress toward your goal. But it might not go so well. You might not be pleased with your performance, and you might need to go back and see what skills still need work, or what multiple skills you need to combine and spend more time practicing. So even after you enter this stage where you're applying your skills, there's still this assessment that needs to go on to see where growth is still needed. And you might also find that only once you start applying what you've been learning do you realize that there were a couple of skills that you didn't realize you needed in order to do that thing well. So don't get discouraged if you have to go back, maybe add a few more skills and spend some time practicing those skills before you really can nail that application stage and perform in the way that you'd like to perform that moves you toward your goal. I think it's worth pointing out here that there are two active stages within this learning framework. The practice stage, during which you develop your skills in a low-pressure environment, and the application phase, when you actually apply your skills with a specific goal in mind. If you neglect that practice phase and move right to the stage when you're applying it, that's when you're going to run into those emotional barriers that might slow you down and make you discouraged about where you currently are. So that is this learning framework in an abstract sense. Let's now apply it to the development of visual note-taking skills. The goal for you as a visual note taker is that thing that your visual notes will help you to achieve. The goal is not to get good at visual note taking. The goal is to kick ass in your history course, or become a better sharer of ideas at work, or to develop a really useful and efficient system for working with the problems that you work with every day. Those are the things toward which you can apply your visual note-taking skills. So my approach here is very much focused not on developing visual note-taking skills just to develop those skills, but in service of a bigger goal, of something else that you're working toward. And what's useful about that, particularly in the world of visual note-taking, is that once you have clearly defined your goals, it makes it a whole lot easier to decide what specific skills you need in order to achieve that goal. When you sit down to take some visual notes, there are a lot of skills that you're going to be combining at once, starting with listening and comprehension skills, and then moving into how you use text on the page, how you lay out your ideas on a page, in what ways you incorporate drawing or quick sketches from simple icons to more complex scenes, and how you use color on the page. It can be overwhelming to try to do all of those things really well, especially at the beginning. The thing is, though, chances are you don't need all of those skills in order to achieve whatever goal you're shooting for. Your specific goal will help you to decide which of those visual note-taking skills to focus on first, and which ones you don't need to worry about for now. That allows you to enter the practice stage knowing that the things you're about to practice are very much directly connected to your goal. And maybe that means getting better at writing by hand, or playing around with different styles of layout, or developing a set of icons that you can draw that's specific to the subject matter that you're taking visual notes on. You'll be able to practice those things in a low pressure environment, knowing how they're connected to the big picture. And then you get to go apply those skills and take some visual notes in your particular setting. And I like to break down the application of visual notes into these three categories. You can use visual notes as a learning tool, as a tool to solve problems, and as a tool to share ideas. Chances are the way in which you're applying your visual notes toward your goal falls into one of those three categories. And no matter how that note-taking session goes, you can always follow it up with an assessment, not of the aesthetics of those notes, but of how well those notes help you move toward your goal. That's the key when it comes to evaluating your current skills and figuring out which ones you need to develop more. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, it's this framework that I'm applying to the Verbal to Visual Classroom, which is an online course that I'm developing to help you develop your visual note-taking skills very much aligned with your specific goal. The first thing that you will do in that course is clearly define your goal. And then as we move throughout the course and look at all these options available to you, you'll be able to explore those options with your specific goal in mind. And I will be helping you to develop the specific skills you need and give you the right type of practice opportunities to give you the confidence so that when you go into that application phase and use your visual notes in context, you'll have the confidence to do that well. I encourage you to use this learning framework in other contexts as well. See if you can break down something you're learning in this way, and see if it helps you to approach the development of new skills with more confidence. And as you do that, let me know if you find that I have missed anything important in the learning process. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck as you go on to develop all sorts of new skills, and I will see you guys next time. Till then.